Most people don't realise this, but the life they're living right now isn't really theirs. It's a costume, a role, a character they've built years ago, but not out of choice, out of necessity. When you were young, you learned fast. What earned love, what got punished, what kept you safe. So you adapted. You became the achiever, the fixer, the strong one, the quiet one. All of those roles worked. They protected you. But here's the truth. What once kept you safe is now keeping you stuck. I'm going to talk about 7 scenarios that reveal how you're still living as who you had to be instead of who you really are. But the full solution, that'll come at the end. So stick with me, because when all 7 come together, you'll see. Your life might look perfect right now, but what if the whole thing is built on lies? You wake up tired, drag yourself through a routine, job, house, same boring conversations. On the outside, it looks fine, but inside it feels empty. Like living in a house where the paint is fresh but the foundation is cracked. That emptiness isn't because you're broken. It's because you've been living as who you had to be, not who you really are. So ask yourself, if I stopped playing the role tomorrow, what part of me would finally breathe? The answer might scare you, and that's exactly why it matters. The danger isn't in the walls you've built, the job, the lifestyle, the routines. The danger is in the foundation. If the base is cracked, no matter how polished it looks, it can't hold. Maybe you know that feeling. Life looks steady from the outside. People see you as reliable, successful even. But inside, you feel hollow. Like an actor reading lines that you didn't write. That's the exhaustion that you wake up with. It's not from lack of sleep, but from carrying a life that doesn't fit. That emptiness isn't proof you're broken. It's proof you've been building on someone else's blueprint. When you were younger, you learned the roles that kept you safe. Achiever, fixer, strong one, quiet one. They worked then, but now they're suffocating you. What once protected you is now holding you back. Survival identities aren't homes, they're shelters. And you've been living in that shelter long after the storm. But there's good news, foundations can be rebuilt. Not by stacking more on top, but by stripping it back and starting with truth. And that's where we're going to head towards the end of this video, so make sure you stick around. But for now, let this sink in, that you're not broken, you're building on cracks, and those cracks aren't failures, but invitations to rebuild. When one mask stops working, most people don't take it off, they just swap it for another. Maybe you've burned out as the achiever and flipped to the rebel, or you went from people pleaser to lone wolf. Different outfit, same prison. Reinvention feels like freedom, but it's just another disguise. So ask yourself, am I free? Or did I just build myself a different cage? And that's just one of the traps. Reinvention isn't always freedom. Sometimes it's just a shinier disguise. Think about it. Maybe you left one role behind, but slid straight into another. You were the overachiever until you burnt out. So you declared, I don't care anymore. You were the perfectionist until the pressure crushed you. So you swung to nothing matters. You were the fixer until resentment boiled over, so you became the avoider. Different mask, same prison. And deep down you know it. Because the weight you thought would lift is still pressing on your chest. The freedom you thought you'd feel still hasn't come. And swapping identities isn't liberation, it's recycling. So freedom doesn't come from picking a different role. It comes from daring to have no role at all. And you can't break free by trading cages. You break free by dropping the belief that you belong in one. So the question becomes, what's underneath when the roles fall away? Who's left? When the achiever, the rebel, the pleaser, the quiet one are stripped back. But understand, you don't need a better mask. You need to remember the face you had before you ever put one on. The reason you're still wearing the mask isn't because you like it, it's because of shame. Shame whispers, you're not good enough. You're too much. You'll never be accepted. And so you hide, you nod, you smile, you perform. But shame isn't proof, it's programming. So then you ask yourself, what's one truth I've never admitted, even to myself? That's where freedom begins. And shame is actually the glue that keeps the mask stuck to your face. And you know that voice, the one that says, if they knew the real me, they would leave. It shows up when you hesitate to speak, when you laugh at jokes that cut deep, when you carry secrets no one can guess by looking at you. The more you hide, the heavier it gets, and until it feels like shame has built a cage around your very identity. But understand this, shame is not evidence, it's programming. You weren't born with it, you learned it. And shame thrives in silence. It dies when it's brought into the light. And the key isn't to erase your flaws or hide your scars. We're not looking to do that. It's to let them breathe, to let them exist, without letting shame write the story for it. Your flaws aren't the enemy. The real enemy is the silence that keeps them locked inside. Fear doesn't whisper, it shouts. Don't leave, don't try, don't speak. And if you listen because it feels safer, but fear isn't a compass. It's an alarm stuck on repeat. Think to yourself, what would I do this week if fear wasn't in the driver's seat? If that thought terrifies you, it's probably the direction you need most. Fear is loud, and when it's screaming, it drowns out everything else. You felt it, that tightness in your chest, when you even think about speaking up, leaving the job, setting boundaries. Fear's the thing that shouts, don't risk it, don't say it, don't step forward. And because it feels urgent, you treat it like truth. But fear doesn't tell you what's true. Fear only tells you what's unfamiliar. Fear isn't a compass. It's not the thing giving directions. It's an alarm. And alarms don't tell the full story. They just tell you something's different. Truth doesn't shout. It stands steady. What's the truth beneath the fear? That's what you need to learn to listen to. And by the end of this video, I'll give you a framework for turning into truth from the fear. By the end of the video, I'll show you how you can turn to your truth instead of listening to fear's noise. But for now, remember, when fear is screaming, it's not proof you're in the wrong place. It's usually proof that you're standing right next to something important. Quick pause. If this is landing, don't just sit and nod along. Hit like and subscribe. It tells YouTube to push this to more people who really need to hear it, and then make sure that you don't miss the next one. Make sure you stick around, because at the end, this is where we'll tie everything together into actual steps you can take. Most people don't even realise they're performing. You say, I'm fine, when you're breaking. You nod while your gut screams no. That's not personality, that's performance. And performance might earn you applause, but it will never give you peace. What's one mask that you could set down today? Performance becomes so normal that you confuse it with personality. Think about it. You smile when you want to cry. You laugh at jokes that sting. You agree when every part of you wants to say no. And after years of that, you can't even tell where the performance ends and the real you begins. That's why so many people feel unseen. Even in crowded rooms, people connect with the mask, not the person underneath. And remember, that performance isn't actually you, it's survival. Performance might protect you, but it can't fulfill you. And authenticity doesn't push people away. It actually draws the right ones closer. The key isn't dropping the mask all at once. It's daring to set it down piece by piece. At the end, I'll show you how to anchor that authenticity so you never need that mask again. But remember, performance earns applause, but only authenticity will ever give you peace. The roles you created to feel powerful are the very things draining your power. Every yes when you meant no, every smile when you wanted to cry, every time you swallowed your truth, it didn't make you stronger. That's not power, that's slavery. So this is when you think, what truth am I avoiding owning right now? Because owning it is where the real power begins. The mask doesn't give you power, it drains it. Think about the effort it takes to maintain the act, editing every word before you speak, smiling while your chest aches, saying yes when every part of you screams no. That's not strength, that's dependency, because your power isn't coming from the truth, it's coming from control. But real power doesn't come from control, it comes from ownership. Every time you avoid your truth, you give your power away. Every time you own it, even with shaky hands, you take it back. The key is learning to own more of your truth, more often, without hiding behind a performance. Power doesn't live in pretending, it lives in ownership. If your future feels heavy instead of hopeful, it's because you're building it on shoulds. Chasing goals you never wanted, carrying dreams that don't belong to you, no wonder it feels suffocating. Your true future won't scare you, it will energize you. What future would you choose if you stopped living as who you had to be? That's where your real life begins. You can't build a true future on lies. That's why so many people feel crushed by their goals. They're chasing visions that don't ever belong to them. A career path that was chosen just to impress. A lifestyle picked to keep up appearances. A dream handed down instead of being born inside. And it feels heavy, not hopeful. But the future that's truly yours won't weigh you down, it will call you forward. Wholeness beats perfection, every time. And the future you long for isn't waiting for a perfect version of you. It's waiting for the real one. How do you start building a future that's rooted in truth then? Well, that's where everything we've covered comes together, and I'll start to give you a framework now. Because your future isn't some distant finish line. It begins the moment you choose authenticity over performance. Across all 7 shifts, foundation, identity, shame, fear, performance, power, and your future, one truth runs through them all. You don't need another mask. You don't need another role. You don't need another survival identity. What you need is the courage to stop living as who you had to be and start living as who you really are. And here's how you begin this shift today. Name the role you've been performing. The achiever, the strong one, the fixer, whatever it is for you. Notice the cost. Write down how that role is draining your energy, your relationships, your joy. Choose one small act of truth this week that breaks that role. Say no when you normally say yes. Admit when you're struggling. Speak the thought that you've been holding back. Do that and you'll start to rebuild your foundation of authenticity instead of performance. And this is just one of the reasons why I created the Clan Training Grounds. It's my free Facebook community with a monthly masterclass and live hot seat and coaching. It's a space where you don't have to carry the mask, where you can bring the real you and actually practice these steps. So check the description, join us and take that first step.